That was so official. Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, 8:30, so we're on Zoom. And today we have a guest up here in North Carolina with me, Andrew. And actually, it's so funny. Andrew and I were at a conference together a couple weeks ago or a month ago. I don't know. I can't keep track of time. And I don't know. He was like talking on a panel, and I did my creepy thing, and I was like, "Oh, who's this kid?" And I was like scanning his like Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's a house I sold." And then I realized we had done a deal together. So then in pure Anna fashion, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And then we were sitting in the same room. So obviously I was immediately amazed because I don't know about everyone's market, but here in Raleigh, we have a huge, I would say just like push for people to join different markets. So a lot of teams here are creating coastal divisions, and they're going down onto the East Coast to sell down Wilmington area and Carteret counties. And so I've been really infatuated with this idea of how do we expand within our state in a couple different places. So then when I was talking to Andrew, he shared not only does he have a team where he is, obviously at an agent in our market about an hour away that facilitated those transactions. And then I was delighted to find, for those of you on this call, that he also services Asheville. And if you've ever been looking for an Asheville agent, I don't know why they're so elusive, but I never can find one. So I'm very glad I have Andrew now in our pocket for a referral partner there. So we thought it might be interesting to hear how he developed this, how he maintains it, how to look for markets to go and expand into. So we kind of wanted to just give him the floor to share, and then please ask questions because he's got a lot of experience in this department. And so I know I'll be here with my list of questions ready to pop in as well. So feel free to interrupt, ask questions, do the things. And Andrew, thanks for giving up your early Wednesday morning to join us to chat about all the things.
No, I appreciate being here, and it was a pleasure meeting you at that conference too. I did my breakaway with you, and it was very enlightening. So thank you again.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
okay, I'll get started. So for those of y'all that don't know me, like she said, I'm Andrew. I work Andrew Westmoreland. I'm primarily based out of the Triad in the North Carolina area, specifically Greensboro, where I was born and raised. Been in real estate for about 11 years now. My co-owner, we own a smaller boutique firm called All About You Realty. My co-owner, Amy, she kind of helped me get in the business. She's got about 20 years of experience, so she's guided me through a lot of this, and a lot more grace goes to her and our administrative staff for any of this growth. So I started at DR Horton. Just to give you a little background, I was in new home sales. Did that for a little bit, realized I was not, they were very corporate, and I'm not a corporate person. I need to be able to fly and do my thing. But it was a great learning experience. I met a lot of agents like yourselves. It was a good networking experience. Um, Switched over to KW in 2015 at the end of the year. I followed Amy there as her buyer's agent. After a couple years, they asked me to be the team leader of the office. That was an experience in its own. And really what I learned there is like collaboration is just so huge. So being able to be on this call with you guys is incredible. And when I exited that, I went right back to Amy and said, hey, I don't want to be your buyer's agent. I want to partner up. I want to help you build something. And that's where this all started, kind of towards the middle of 2018. And we left Keller Williams in September of 2021 and started our thing. And when we move, first off, let me ask real quick, is there anything in particular that you guys are really wanting to take away from this call so I can make sure I hit on those notes?
I learn most from listening to people's journey and kind of seeing some of like the things that they hiccuped on, so that I learn best from people's mistakes, basically. So I'm just here to kind of listen and absorb and listen to what the journey was like, because like Anna, I know that we are very interested in understanding how do we help agents in other markets, and how do we leverage our business through that as well.
Perfect. What do we screw up? I got that. I got tons of those things.
Amber and I also, how do you identify agents in other markets to partner with? Like how does that conversation even start? How do you identify that they're going to, apart from just like being culture fit and all of those things, like just geographically, like how does it work? Just how do you find those partners in other markets? I'd be curious to hear how you've built that.
Certainly.
And then I would also love to know, like, what does your support look like with your close team, and how does it look essentially with those expansion people? What type of leverage, what type of leads, support, accountability, does it all look the same? I would love to see like how, when you do that, like how does it really work day in and day out?
Perfect. All right. I think we can hit on all those things. Anything else? All right, we'll keep rolling. So I'm going to start with the identifying. And I'm going to preface this with, we are not some huge operation. We don't have a ton of agents all over the place. We have 3 agents in Asheville right now, and we have 2 agents in the Raleigh market right now. And we are excited. This is kind of new. Y'all are the first group to hear this. We're getting ready to partner with, our next move was going to be Coastal. And I'll get into why that is and why we went to RDU and why we went to Asheville. But a lot of it is based on the person first, as opposed to identifying that we want to go to the coast. It's more identifying who's the rock star that's going to help us go to the coast. And starting with Raleigh, we had an opportunity brought to us through our network for an agent. His name is Sal. Love Sal. Me and him kind of are like twinsies, right? We look and literally we look the same. People think we're brothers. And somebody said, hey, Sal's doing this, he's doing that, he's great in the Raleigh. Have you thought about going that way? And it was like, well, we have. And so we kind of started with the right person. And he's been an incredible resource for us there and will help us to continue to grow. And we have a plan around that, right? And kind of going into the support side of that, like how we support him. We have a partnership agreement with him because he's our main guy, right? And he shares in on the profit of the RDU market. So as we grow the bottom line there, him being our partner, helping us nurture and grow that team and build the support around what we're trying to do, he's going to share in on the bottom line of the company. And that gives him a little bit of extra incentive to help grow, mentor, and whatnot. And if he, sorry, I can't, we have a real large plethora of things. So if I get kind of lost all over the place, I apologize. We can help him grow the market fully supporting just individual agents, or we can help him grow that market supporting a team and everything in between. And how we've done that here, we have a direct team that works for us. We have 2 agents. They can list and buy. They're not just a buyer's agent, not just a listing agent. And we support them through our administrative staff. They get leads directly from me and Amy. They get leads through our CRMs. We don't purchase a lot of online. We do have some Google presence there. We have somebody that runs our Google page, and the words escaping me. SOE, I think is what it is. So there, and then we use our CRM Sync. When we signed up for Sync, they gave us a certain amount of paid leads through their Google and whatnot, and Facebook and targeted. So we do provide those for them. And that's kind of how we run the team. They get full access to our entire admin team. So from putting things in MLS to running signs to running lockbox, everything that we do that can be leveraged out from a time standpoint so that we can just focus in our business in lead genning and taking care of our clients. They get full access to, and we pay the salaries of those individuals. So those are the people directly on our team. Everybody else, including Sal, has full access to them on a transactional basis, and they can pay them directly. So it's not anything that the firm provides. So if an individual agent at our firm wants to utilize Megan and Stacy, that's our admin team, they can go directly to them, and we have packages. Essentially, if you just want somebody to throw your stuff in MLS for you because it's just something you do not like doing, they'll do that for you, and then there's a charge for that, and it's paid at closing. If you want them to run the entire transaction, there's a package for that, and it's charged at closing. And if you want them to just do the middle part, like, hey, I got all the MLS stuff, I got the back end, I'll take my check, pick up my sign, do all that, there's a middle package there too. So we really try to give options to cater to as most people as we can. And everybody knows what those are. Nobody gets any special deals. It's very cut and dry. And as we grow, obviously, we're going to have to probably fill more positions there because Megan and Stacy only have but so much time to do that. And then for our expansions, again, as we grow there, we'll find those pieces to put in place to allow them to do the same.
So are you paying them a small salary, and then the agents that utilize them are basically getting like a transaction fee paid at closing, or how, are they getting some type of salary from you?
Yes. So Megan and Stacy get a salary from the firm, and I wouldn't say it's small, but I don't think it's, I wouldn't say it's considered large in the industry either. They're both between $36,000 and $42,000 a year on salary. And then there's some bonus structure around that too. And then, yes, so if I've seen them make as much as an extra $3,000 a piece in transactional work every month. And I've seen it be very minimal depending on the closings. And we really try and have worked to put as much value in them. I mean, we built them to help our team. So we feel like everything they do for us is extremely valuable to an individual agent or an agent trying to grow their team. So we really do support them and put them out to these other agents and say, hey, you know, like, stay in your business, don't get bogged down. You have leverage opportunities for you. And it's very fairly priced. I mean, they only charge $150 on a listing and $250 on a buyer transaction, which is what I feel like is a little bit below transaction coordination work across the board. And for what they bring, it's incredible value. And the agents that have tied into them and use them continue to tie in and use them.
Yeah, that is really inexpensive. Are they licensed?
One is and one is not.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have a small property management company, and they help us out with that too. So they have a small salary coming from the property management company as well. And for anybody thinking about starting a property management company, call me because I have some thoughts.
I was gonna say, I think that's an entire mastermind of its own, because I think we all have like thought about this, and it's something that we're all really thinking of like leveraging. But I also think that there's a lot of nuances to it. So that might be something for us to throw on the schedule for some kind of like Q&A, like do's and don'ts or whatever. But I do think it's interesting. So from your model, again, we were talking about this before we started recording, and I don't want to go too into the weeds on this, but from your model, like, do you feel like the agents that are coming on, and Anna kind of started with this question too, like who you're looking to expand with and grow with, are these agents like, do they need a lot of your energy? Do they need the coaching, or they really just want that collaboration and that connectivity to people?
It's a great question. And we had to sit down with ourselves when we started this journey and really identify what our value proposition was and who we were going to reach. And what we came up with is the agents that are going to partner with us, that are going to fit our model, that are going to fit our personality styles, are folks that are going to be very independent. I don't need to call them every week. They may not even want a training every week or month. They do, you know, we do one firm training group meeting every month, and we do one tech training every month. And I try to collab as much as I can because I love this side of the business and I like to bring it back to them, right? But most of our agents are really like, hey, let me do my thing. I'm going to sell some houses, and they do. And when I need you, I'm going to come to you and I want you to be there. I want to know that you're there. And we just kind of check in with them, and we'll touch on that a little bit kind of when we have the retention culture conversation. But yeah, most of our agents are really independent, and we don't really have to stay down on them or keep them engaged. And we what we've noticed is that's kind of the vibe that has grown within our firm. And that's kind of our culture. Everybody is like really cool, independent. They go do their thing. We get together, we collaborate at times, but it's really, in the grand scheme of things, to answer your question, yeah, that I don't have to stay on them. There's not a lot of back end work that goes into that.
Andrew, Amber asked, do you know the profit versus transaction on your team versus the expansion team?
So let me elaborate on that, make sure I'm understanding the question properly. Kind of like, or I'm going to go
Essentially, how much more profitable is your team versus your expansion teams?
Great. Yeah.
per
So
transaction? Because if you're giving away some of the profit to these leaders in those areas.
So the bottom line in those areas as we grow is a lot healthier as far as margins, because most of our expenses come out of the triad and are covered with what we're already doing there. So when we look at our expansion and just break out those books individually, the profit margin is much higher. Now, when we come to the triad as a whole, the profit margin is lower, but when we look at our immediate team, the amount of money that comes in from that is higher, if that makes sense. So the margins are lower, but the volume's higher. And then in our expansion, the volume is lower, but the margins are higher. If that makes sense.
It does. Does anybody else have a question about that? Also in the, just, community of sharing, I know that people are going to ask, do you have a breakdown or anything that you would share as a generalized outline on like, what does that fee sheet look like? I know for us, we've got people in our market that do like pay per closing, and it ranges. There's people that do $100, there's people that do $600, and it ranges on like what service they're actually getting. And so if you've got anything that you would be willing to share with anybody that's on here, we can kind of do direct messages or whatever, but that would be something I think very, very helpful. Stephanie, did you have something in particular you were looking for?
No, I texted Allison and told her that I was excited to see if I could get those sheets. We kind of run the same thing on my team. So we have like 3 different levels. So I have like my sales team, and then I have like my, you just need more help and coaching kind of team. You know what I mean? And then I offer like a tier 1 where you're just kind of like in our support system and stuff. And we offer different things for those 3 different tiers. And so that's why I was curious to see kind of how mine aligned with yours. And I'm happy to send you mine so you can see how we break what we offer down, like with CTE and everything like that as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't necessarily have tiers. We have our individual agents that are on a very basic breakdown. They're on a 12K cap at an 80-20 split, and they pay $65 a month for technology. And that's what everybody does. It's very simple. We offer Sync as a CRM, SkySlope as transaction coordination and back office stuff. And then we utilize the Books program in SkySlope for transactions on the back end. And they know that they have access to Megan and Stacy. And that's a little bit more in depth because there are tiers there. Like, how would you like to access them? And then if they do want to grow a team, like I said, we're still, September 2021. So we're still kind of developing these things as we go and learning. It's so great to be having this conversation because I'm like right in the trenches of all this right now and failing miserably to get where we want to go. And, the biggest, but yes, I'm happy to share all those and sit down and talk about that, because when we look at our immediate team, it's a lot more in depth what we do with them. Right. It's not as straightforward as you're on a cap, you got to split. We're here. If you need support, it's there. If you want coaching, I'm here. Call me. We'll set something up, and everything in between. I think having the tiers is something that we'll probably move to at some point in the future. Just as we continue to grow and expand, we want to make sure that we continue to offer options for everybody and not just one blanketed thing. But yeah, I'd love to share that and have that conversation for sure.
Thank you. Sharing is caring. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And, to the challenge of that, like what we have found in the Raleigh market, I try to reach out. I try to, work on having a presence there. I'm actually on my way there as soon as we get off this call again. And I try to touch base. Me and Sal talk every Tuesday about growth plans and where we're at, how I can best support him. So I do touch base with him weekly. We also chat a lot outside of that. The biggest roadblock we've run into in having conversations with people as we grow that market is, who are you? We don't know who you are. We've been established in the triad for a while. Amy's been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing this for 11 years. Through our relationships and transactions, Amber included. I don't know if you remember this, Amber. You were my first sell ever at DR Horton in Brightwood Farms a long time ago. I don't know if you remember.
That's a fun fact. I did not know that, Andrew.
Yeah, fun fact.
I love that.
Yeah,
great to work with. You were always fun.
I still remember the floor plan. It was a Glenwood floor plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have relationships here, and we've built that, and we've built our brand. And I try to get on social media and be involved in the community and work on that. So the biggest challenges we've had in reaching the Asheville market and the Raleigh market is agents like that are working in that market just don't really know who we are as people. And that's made it hard to really have conversations about who we are as a firm. And so my goal there to try to remedy that is just to be more involved in that community and get people to know who I am as a person. Right. And then hopefully the firm conversations will just kind of organically happen behind that. I do think we have a solid model, but that's been our biggest challenge right now. I know that was one of the things on the list, and I'm going to be honest, I've really been I've dug deep into that for the last 5 months, and we've only grown by one agent. And I say only, I'm still proud of that, but it's been a challenge. And that's been the hardest part about this growth and expansion is just, who are you? I don't really know. I mean, I can tell people who I am, but anyway, I digress on that. Any questions around that?
No,
Well,
I think what
emotions?
you were digressing, I think what you were digressing into is what a lot of us challenge ourselves with on a daily basis. Like, how do we connect? How do we grow? Like, why aren't we growing? Or how fast is too fast? How many agents do we need? And I think it all ties back to like Amber's question, like, what's your team versus your expansion team profit? And not just profit, like how much time do you have to put into that versus how much money are you making back? And so I don't know if there's like a single model. I mean, most of us did come from Keller Williams where we really got to like hone in and learn MREA and learn expansion and learn the model. But as our market shift and as the real estate industry changes, a lot of that is shifting and a lot of that is changing. And so that's why we're on these calls, is to connect and to say, like, what are you doing and how are you doing it? And what should our next move be? Because none of our businesses are the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what I've learned in that is our goal when we set out on this expansion was to have, we never wanted to grow to exponential. 24 agents. That was our goal in the triad. We wanted 24 agents. We're probably 70% of that goal to this point. And we learned that we could sustain that and run that at a good level and not lose the personal touch that we want to have with everybody that's associated with us. So when we went on these expansion journeys, that was the goal too. We know that at 24 agents, we run a very profitable business, but it's also very sustainable for us. And the same thing in Asheville and soon to be Danville and Rockingham County. It was going to be the beach. We've got a rock star coming on in the Danville area, and she's going to hybrid North Carolina and Virginia. So we looked into that, and it's only 45 minutes from me, where Wilmington's 3.5 hours. So it just made more sense. So that's going to be our next move. And it's kind of in our own backyard, but with Danville having the casino coming there, like it just seemed like a valuable option. It's anyway. So that being said, Amber, to that question, if I only hire one agent a year in those expansion areas, I'm okay with that because I'm not having to put a ton of effort and energy into it. And I know that each agent we're already running profitable on, right? Because most of our expenses are already covered in the triad area and when we do our books. And same thing with Asheville. We have 3 agents. One of our agents expands down to Hickory, but it all kind of runs out of that market. And, if we hire 3 agents this year, or we hire 1 agent this year, again, our profit margins are really good. So if we don't grow there, it's not terrible. Obviously the growth makes everybody more money and we love that. That being said, we're not losing money by not growing either. And it allows us to be very, very selective with who we grow with. And I like that component of it, right? I can interview 5 people, and if I don't think any of those people are a fit for the firm, I don't have to hire them or align my business with them because I don't necessarily need them to run a profitable model. So it really leads us back to more organic growth and putting people in the room that really go with our mission statement and who we are. And for those who don't know our mission statement, it's simply to create personalized experience for our clients and agents, making everyone feel at home. That's it. We just want everyone to feel like they can build what they want to build with us. And if we don't have it right now, we'll figure out how to help you build that. Right. And again, that can become a little challenging, having different people trying to do different things and support that. And the answer is not always yes, don't get me wrong, but there's always a conversation around it. Like, how do you see, what's your vision? Where do you want to go? How can I help you get there? And let's sit down and look at that. They might hear me say things like, hey, that's very idealistic, but I don't think it's profitable. And I think you're going to put a lot of time and energy into it and you're not going to make any extra money. And it's probably not worth your time, unfortunately. Or they may hear that's freaking fantastic. Maybe make this change, and let's roll with it. But we really don't try to put things in a box with the expansion, and we're open to anything, and it's changing. I mean, you guys know that, like, this business, it changes so quickly, and you have to continue to bring value and be able to shift and pivot, and what worked a month ago might not work now. And so it's like, anyway, So any questions around any of that ramble?
I feel like I have lots of questions. I feel like I have lots of questions, but
I do better with like direct questions. My verbal.
Ashley, do you have any questions, you lovely W?
No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking on my questions. while
So
I'm
I kind of
listening.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ashley. So my whole thing is like, I love the idea of expansion and growing and all of the things, but I think my biggest concern is like, I have my A team, my sales team here where I am down in Beaufort, right? And it's like, we do great. It's amazing. And I guess like I'm nervous about being able to do all of that in other markets. Like I own the Military Moves Network nationwide. So we have these like areas where we're getting tons of leads, but then I have like paid partners in all of those groups. So I'm like, man, I could just roll those into expansion teams instead of having these paid partners where then they're all team leads. So the profitability is amazing. But I'm like, how do I be what I am to all of my agents here in California, Yuma, Pensacola, North Carolina? You know what I mean? And then how do you keep, I mean, the leads I'm not so worried about because we're so strong with military moves throughout there. But I guess I'm just like nervous about, I'm just a very hands-on. So I'm nervous about not being able to be enough for everybody in a whole bunch of areas.
That's I've lost a lot of sleep over that conversation because it is difficult to be everywhere at once. And when there's been times when I've felt like I was behind where I wanted to be. And it was very frustrating. And the people around me, especially my family, kind of felt that energy, like not so much like down and out, but like, wow. And so I understand that fear at a high level. And that you kind of got to let go a little bit. And that's why I've enjoyed starting with that one person, right? Like I would trust Sal with my business, with my clients at the highest level. I don't need to micromanage him. I know that if he's there and I'm not there, we're still being represented to the level that I would want to represent it. And that's hard to let go of. But by finding that one person like that I really have a lot of faith in, now anybody else that comes along, I don't really have that thought anymore. And I think that's been a big key component of letting go of that. I actually struggle more with that in the triad now than I do in our expansion groups. And same thing with Tiffany up in Asheville. So I do more of the Raleigh market. Amy does more of the Asheville market with partnerships and growth. But Tiffany was family of Amy. And she was doing well in business, but she just didn't have, kind of the same thing you were talking about. Like Asheville's such a weird thing. There's not a lot, like there's not a lot of support. She was with a firm. She wasn't getting much support. And she was just perfect for the position. And we trust her. And we know that we can rely on her to be us in that position if we can't be there. So, if you got the leads, obviously, and to Amber's question, firm leads always turn a higher profit. And if a lead comes through the firm and goes to any agent, they pay in at 60-40, and there's no cap on that, right? And that's another layer to our the way we work with people. That being said, like that's a great profit margin and there's no cap on it. So I can understand how when you have all these leads, you want to pump those in and have that expansion, and it keeps everybody going. But having that one person that if you just never step foot in that office, that it's being run the same way that you would run it, I think would be a really, really key component for you doing those things.
Stephanie, like in listening to Andrew, I was thinking like, I feel like we always think that people need us like all the time. But if you find a person like an Anna, like an Allison, like someone that's inherently motivated and doesn't need, I mean, it's great to have the collaboration, but they're going to do it anyway and they're going to go find a way. I think it's kind of like us posting to social media. It's like to be everything to everyone. And what I heard from him is like, I'm going to find independent agents that don't need that like lovey-dovey, because that's who's right for this model where they can run it on their own. They're excited about the leads. They like the infrastructure they can tap in, but someone that's going to roll with it and not like want you every day, basically, which you feel like they don't exist. So I get it, but I'm like, I've been listening and kind of like internalizing what you're saying. And I feel like that's you know, we're always thinking it's got to be this one, this is the one model of a real estate agent and they need all the things, but there are people independent. We just got to weed through and find them.
Wow, you really did sum up what I was trying to say a lot more elegantly than I did. And that's spot on. And I will say that it has been more challenging to find that person. I think it would be easier if we wanted to grow in numbers, to go in and go after newer agents, lower producing agents and whatnot. The reality is our model is not built to support them at the level they should be supported. So I know if I go hire 10 new agents tomorrow, I can help, realistically, I can help maybe one or two, but I don't have the time or the infrastructure to help all 10. And I don't want to set them up for failure. And I certainly don't, I hate retention. I hate a revolving door. I don't want to be that place where people come in and out. Right. And so thank you for that. That's really what we've done. And they are few and far between, but they're there somewhere. Any other questions as we're going through this?
I was gonna say too, like I think it's, I'll put myself on camera, I kind of look normal now. I think it's like finding those agents where you could do the numbers and where does it make sense? Because, you know, everyone looks at me and go, oh, you could go off on your own if you wanted to, but I don't want to. I want to be on the team. I want to get leads. I want the infrastructure. So if Stephanie's connecting with those military groups, it's like, okay, I'm running a really good business now, but what if I added 5 more deals? What if I added 7 more deals? And yeah, I might pay a split and they could figure that part out. But like, how does that grow your business? How do those 5 to 7 deals turn into referral deals? And now that's 14 next year because each one has referred you because it's military. So I think it's maybe having a spreadsheet or going into these markets. Like I'm thinking if I was an agent, what would I want to have? Like if I was independent enough to go, I'm motivated. If I had a spreadsheet to go, hey, if I could get you 5 more deals, this is what your business looks like. If we could get you 10 more deals, plus what you're building internally, right? Like the collaboration part and working genius and the timelines and all the things that we offer. How could we elevate your business by showing you a spreadsheet that increases the numbers enough for it to make sense, where it's like, maybe I join your expansion team versus stay independent. Right? I don't know if you do that, but I'm thinking what would make me join.
Yeah, all great points. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Anna, I know you said you had some.
Yes, I was gonna ask, and I had to take a call. So if you talked about this, just be like, shut up, you weren't paying attention. But the onboarding process as you bring people in, I mean, do you have that kind of mapped out? I know just with you talking about like kind of organic growth and like how you identify partners, I guess I'm seeing just more of a kind of organic process to that, but I was just curious like what your onboarding process looks like for expansion partners.
Yeah, great question. We have everybody knows the role in that, and we have a checklist that is followed. So in short, typically I will be the first conversation, whether that's somebody I've reached out to or somebody within our firm that said, hey, I think you should talk to this person, or I was talking to this person, or they reached out to me. I will reach out to that person, set up a first conversation, and that's kind of our first line. And if it goes past that, I'm interested in bringing them in and they're interested in joining, then my partner, Amy, almost like a second interview. And once we get through that, at that point, we've deemed if one, they're a good fit for us. And at that point, they've told us like, hey, we'd like to join, or we're going to stick with where we're at. And let's say they flip the on switch and they're ready to join and put their business with us. At that point, we have our administrative team, and it starts with our right-hand person, her name's Ashley. She is a licensed agent. She works on our team, but we also pay her a quarterly bonus based on profit to help us run, 1, technology and training, and 2, helping us onboard and get agents in the door and making sure they're having a really red carpet experience when they come in. What I found at KW was a huge hindrance to that model is it was hire, and then figure it out and try to support them and try to support them and try to support them. And I didn't like that portion of that model. So when we hire, we really try to take our time, and it's not a speed thing. And I know that if we don't give them a red carpet experience walking in the door in a very organized front, you can lose them almost as quickly as they partner with you. So to answer your question, yes, we have a very set way we do that. It is on a spreadsheet. It is on a tracker. So, and there's portions that the agency and there's portions that just the office see. And we just move down that list and check boxes, and everybody knows where everybody's at in the transaction and the onboarding. And what we found is that works really well, and everybody is involved. And then it also allows that agent not just to meet me and join the firm, but they meet me, they meet my partner Amy, they meet the administrative staff, Megan and Stacy, and they meet Ashley, who's our right-hand person. And everybody's roles are really defined in that. And what that's done for me as an owner is it's slowed my phone down, right? It's so typical for an agent when they come on, they meet me, they want to call me for everything. And to your point, Sevy, we can't be that person for everybody. And so that's allowed me to really hone in on like, hey, I'm the creative guy. If you got a problem, call me, I'll help you solve it. Don't call me for paperwork because I hate it. You know, I'm not the big. So if it's a problem, I'll help you solve it, but I'm not the big. Amy's the big. And then as far as your technology, if you're having trouble with your CRM or you have questions around that, that's Ashley. And when it comes to everything else administrative, that's Megan and Stacy in their roles. And so that onboarding process has really allowed us to identify who everybody is in the transaction and in their roles, so that we're very defined. And it's helped us really like save a lot of time for everybody too. So
Yeah, I feel like it's always the battle of like you have an agent, especially an existing agent that's coming over and they don't need that hand holding the same way a new agent does. And they're getting into transactions because they waited to move until they could time something. And then you're like, oh, we have to onboard you, but also like you have to work. And I think onboarding is just always something that we hear when people are struggling with, organization, like how do you do it? So I'm always curious, how does everyone do it?
it is, and even as step by step as we try to make it, there's always there's no perfectness. There's always a speed bump. And for that person, I'll even, because sometimes that's a hindrance to them too. They're like, oh, I got this business and it's just like going to be a lot of work on me. And I don't know if I'm ready. I'm getting ready to do these 3 listings. I still got these 2 listings. I won't do this the whole time, but I'll give them a once go. I'll sit down with them and redo all the paperwork for them. I've trained my staff to do the same. So we really try to give them every opportunity to just walk in the door seamlessly and just feel like everything's, because it's stressful to move, especially for somebody that's got an established business.
Yeah. That you think sometimes it's the ones that don't have, the newer agents, but the more stressful onboards for us are always agents that are coming in with business, because we're actually juggling 2 things. We don't have their attention on all of the onboarding. So we've actually built two spreadsheets, one for new agents and one for existing agents, to try to make sure that we get, them in play as quickly as possible on just CRM and things like that they need.
Anna, I'd love to, if you're willing to send me a copy of those spreadsheets, because I'm drowning in transferring and people.
I would be happy to share you those spreadsheets. It's really funny. One of the things that we working genius all of our incoming agents as they come in, and I can always tell who's going to like my spreadsheets and who's not. Those T's and that come in our group always love the spreadsheet, but it is helpful. And I'm sure Andrew's looks very similar, like literally like just making sure that like email signatures are updated, like making sure that your like social media reflects where you work, like just little, especially existing agents, just where you already have infrastructure. It's just like those silly little things that like you're not focused on. You're like, no, I need to get my license transferred and I need to like get, my clients like alerted. And those are things that take up all that space in your head. So I'll be happy to share that. I'll send it over to you, Stephanie.
I love that. And it's like, for me, sometimes I get so caught up in the excitement of the businesses coming together. The small things like that just get missed so easily. Not that we've done this hundreds of times over, but every time we've onboarded, we're like, all right, we got to add that to the checklist now. And it's as simple as like helping them create an email signature or having a template that's plug and play,
Correct. Yeah. We've gotten to the point now where we're finally to a place where I feel like we're actually refining the order in which we do things. So like, that's nice because it's not been a new addition every time someone's onboarded, but like, it was so silly. We were onboarding agents and like 3 3 days in, we were like, oh, like they'd be like, well, I actually wanted to get a new email address, like, cause I had, different email at my last company or whatever. And we didn't ask that clarifying question to start with. So we've just set them up on Fellow. We've set them up in our CRM, on our EXP platforms. We set them up everywhere with an email address that they have no intention of using. Like, it was like, why did we not think of this? But you don't in the moment, because you're just like, let me churn out my list, right? So
Yeah. It's the small details that get missed and then somehow can become a huge, huge headache for some reason.
correct. A lot of extra work.
Yeah. Awesome.
Are you guys on as far as communications go, and if I missed this, I apologize to you. Do you have kind of the whole group, the whole brokerage, like on some kind of like Slack communication platform where you're all aligned, or do you kind of keep those markets separate as far as like day-to-day communication goes?
That's a great question, and we've gone back and forth on this. Going back to kind of the personality of most of our firm, we feel like most agents that would be bothersome to. They really, a lot of our agents do really kind of like to, we'll call you when we need you type thing. So we do like to check in with them. I'll send a bi-weekly email out to everybody, just kind of something that I've learned, encouragement, shouting people out, giving people little wins, and talking about challenges and how we've overcome them. So we don't have any big group communication. Now, as a team, we have a text thread. So there's 6 of us on that. And that's where we communicate with everything. And we're an open book. So even when Amy and I are talking about brokerage decisions, we typically talk about it on that thread, because Ashley and Dusty and Megan and Stacy are involved in all of those decisions, and anything that me and Amy decide, it affects them directly. So we always want to have their input. So kind of a hybrid.
Cool. Anybody else have any questions?
No, I think that's it. I love Slack. I didn't know what Slack was. And then my director of operation, I don't know, a year ago was like, how come you're not doing this? And I was like, because I don't like change. And it has changed the business model 110%. Because Andrew, I don't know if you know anything about Slack, but like you can have your own like text thread with all 6 of your agents in it. Then you can have your own individual like per transaction. So if somebody asks you a question, like, hey, what about missing the appraisal? You don't have to go back and say like, what property are we talking about or whatever, because they would just put it directly in that text thread, and it's all documented. You can share documents to it, and you can share like one channel with your admin. So like if you have your TC plus you, plus your BIC, plus the agent, like it was life-changing for my team, especially with like growth and expansion.
Yeah, I just wrote that in big letters on my piece of paper here.
Yeah, it might be time. It might be time. I have agents that don't love over communication either, but those same agents tend to like knowing that they've got a cohesive file that's been run on their behalf through our transaction channels. As of now, I'm still in all of our transaction channels, so I have like, I don't know, it feels like not hundreds, but it feels like tons and tons of Slack channels. But one of the nice things I think too is segregating out conversations. So we have like a meetings channel. So that's like any news about like when we're meeting or trainings. We have a team of agents that want expired listings to be delivered to their CRM. So like this month, like we've got a group of agents that are only in that channel because they're talking best practices for expired. So it helps us build. I built my, I grew and cut my teeth in a traditional brick and mortar style office, where I got to listen to agents on the phone and, hear the outcomes from their problems and things like that. And so now I feel like I'm finally, because no, our agents aren't in the office. I don't need an office. The biggest waste of money I have every month is our office. But I think for us, that creates that office conversation platform. So it definitely, I agree. It substantiated a lot of our business. And I didn't know that we needed it when we got it. I kept thinking my text thread was good. So there's your challenge, Andrew. You might want to just.
Yeah, I can do a screen recording of how my Slack is with my team if you want it, and I can send it to you, just because we have like Anna said, we break everything down into different groups. So
I would be gracious for that. That would be awesome. I'm trying to find, I was going to give you my email address. Where's that? There we go. If I can type today, geez.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm an open book. It can be whatever. Okay. Oh my gosh, what is behind you right now?
Yeah, what?
It's my husband.
I love your husband. That's
Yeah, he was either going to do the like walking escalator behind me or pull out the Stay Puffed mask from Trip for Christmas or Halloween. So I think he made a wise choice.
I mean, either way, he could have
That'd be great
combined.
content on my social later.
Yeah, awesome.
Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your experience. I know this is something literally while we were on the phone, I had a partner of mine in my group here at EXP be like, hey, I need someone in town in Oak Island to help some of our team members. And I have 2 agents that are desperately trying to get some traction down in that county area. So it was really funny. I was like, oh, perfect. I'll know what to say better after I get off this call. So we
Well,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys having me, and look forward to collabing with you guys in the future and jumping on here and learning from all you guys. It means a lot to be here, and I just thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, Wednesday mornings are a good time. I think I learn something every week that I log in, which I think goes to show that we all can just keep picking up knowledge, keep getting better. And I think just like you said, like the market, everything feels like it's just changing, like not even just the market conditions, like how you sell real estate, like the tools that you're using, the processes, the people, like everything seems like it just keeps resetting. And so I think it's even more important now to be plugged in with other agents and hear, what are you doing? So we're glad we have a platform to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cool.
Andrew. Have a great day.
Thanks, Amber. Always good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you
Bye,
too.
y'all.
Take care. Bye.